Captain Jiho stared at the distress signal flashing on his screen. He had been patrolling the outer edges of human space for 3 months without seeing anything unusual. Now, something was calling for help, in a language his computer didn't recognize. "Should we answer it?" asked his second officer, Lieutenant Yuna. She stood behind his chair, arms crossed, looking worried. Jiho nodded slowly. "We have to. It's protocol. Besides, this might be our first real alien contact." The ship changed course, moving toward the source of the signal. It took 2 hours to reach it. When they arrived, they found a damaged vessel floating in the darkness. It was beautiful and strange, with smooth curves and a silver surface that seemed to glow with its own light. "I'm reading life signs," Yuna said, checking her instruments. 17 of them. They're alive but weak." Jiho pressed the communication button. "This is Captain Jiho of the Earth ship Frontier Hope. We received your distress call. Do you need help?" For a moment, there was only static. Then a voice came through, speaking perfect English with an accent he couldn't place. "Earth ship, yes, we need help. Our engines are dead. Our life support is failing. Please, we are dying." The voice sounded female and desperate. Jiho made his decision quickly. "We're bringing you aboard. Prepare for rescue." It took an hour to bring all 17 aliens onto his ship. When the first one stepped through the airlock, Jiho felt his breath catch. She was tall, maybe 7 feet, with pale blue skin and large eyes that shimmered like opals. She wore a uniform that looked both practical and elegant. Behind her came 16 more, all of them female, all of them exhausted. The leader approached Jiho and placed her hand over her heart in what seemed like a greeting. "I am Ambassador Kara of the Valorian Empire. You have saved our lives. We are forever grateful." Jiho returned the gesture awkwardly. "Just doing our job. Let's get you to medical bay. You all look like you need rest and treatment." Over the next few hours, Jiho's small crew worked to help the Valorian survivors. Dr. Hana, the ship's medical officer, examined them and found they were mostly suffering from exhaustion and minor injuries. The ship's food synthesizers were adjusted to provide meals the aliens could eat. That evening, Jiho met with Ambassador Kara in his ready room. She sat across from him, her large eyes studying his face with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. "Captain Jiho, I must explain why we were in your space," Kara began. "My people are in crisis. We have been searching the galaxy for a very specific thing. And today, when my science officer scanned your ship, we discovered something remarkable." "What's that?" Jiho asked, curious despite his wariness. Kara took a deep breath. 3 generations ago, all the males of my species died. A genetic plague swept through our world. We tried everything to save them, but we failed. Since then, we have had no males. We reproduce through cloning and artificial methods. But we are dying out. Each generation is weaker than the last." Jiho felt a chill run down his spine. "That's terrible. I'm sorry." "We have scanned thousands of species across the galaxy," Kara continued. "We have searched for genetic compatibility, for any species that might help us survive. And in all our searching, we found nothing, until today." She leaned forward, her eyes intense. "Captain Jiho, human males are compatible with Valorian females. Your genetics could save my entire species." Jiho blinked, not sure he heard correctly. "I'm sorry, what?" "Your genetic code has elements that are compatible with ours. If human males provide genetic material, Valorian females could bear healthy children, perhaps even male children. You could help us survive." Jiho stood up quickly, his chair scraping against the floor. "Wait, hold on. You're asking me to... What exactly are you asking?" Kara remained calm. "I am asking if you would consider helping my people. We would offer Earth great rewards. technology, knowledge, protection, trade agreements. But we need human cooperation to save our species. This is insane, Jiho said, running his hand through his hair. You want me to? I can't just agree to something like this. This is way above my authority. This is a decision for Earth's government, not one starship captain. I understand, Kara said gently. I do not expect an answer now. But please, will you take us to Earth? Let us speak with your leaders. Time is running out for my people. Jiho looked at her for a long moment. He saw the desperation in her eyes, the fear of a species facing extinction. He thought about what it would mean if humans could help. And he thought about what Earth's government would say when he showed up with alien refugees asking for human genetic material. All right, he finally said. I'll take you to Earth, but I'm not promising anything beyond that. Kyra stood and bowed deeply. Thank you, Captain. You have given my people hope. The journey to Earth took 3 weeks. During that time, Jiho spent many hours talking with Kara and her crew. He learned about Valorian culture, their history, and their desperate struggle to survive. They showed him images of their beautiful homeworld, now filled with aging females and no children playing in the streets. The Valorians were curious about humans too. They asked endless questions about Earth, about human relationships, about how men and women interacted in human society. Some of their questions made Jiho uncomfortable, but he tried to answer honestly. Dr. Hana spent most of her time with Lysara, the Valorian science officer. They exchanged data and medical information. Hana confirmed what the Valorians had discovered. Human and Valorian genetics really were compatible in ways that seemed almost impossible. It's like our species were designed to fit together, Hana told Jiho one evening. The probability of this happening naturally is astronomical. I don't understand it, but the science is solid. As Earth grew larger on the view screen, Jiho felt a knot forming in his stomach. He was about to change human history. First contact with an alien species was supposed to be a moment of celebration. Instead, he was bringing aliens who needed human men for breeding purposes. The media was going to have a field day with this. When they finally entered Earth's orbit, Jiho sent his report ahead. The response was immediate and chaotic. Every government official, scientist, and military leader wanted to talk to the Valorians. Within hours, transportation was arranged to bring Kyra and her delegation to the United Nations headquarters. Before they left his ship, Kyra approached Jiho one last time. Thank you again, Captain. Whatever happens, you gave my people a chance. That is more than we had before. Jiho nodded, unsure what to say. As he watched the Valorians board the shuttle that would take them to Earth's surface, he wondered what he had started. He had saved 17 lives today. But the consequences of that rescue might change both their species forever. The adventure was only beginning. The United Nations Assembly Hall had never been so crowded. Every seat was filled, and cameras from around the world pointed at the stage where Ambassador Kyra stood. She wore formal Valorian robes that shimmered under the lights, and her tall figure commanded attention. Jiho sat in the front row, feeling completely out of place. He was just a space captain. He shouldn't be here for something this important. But the Valorians had insisted he attend, saying he was their first human friend. People of Earth, Kara began, her voice amplified through the hall's speakers. We come to you in our darkest hour. My species is dying. In 3 generations, we will be gone from the universe, but you have the power to save us. She activated a holographic display that showed the Valorian homeworld. Images of their civilization appeared, beautiful cities and advanced technology, but also empty schools and aging populations. We offer Earth a partnership like no other. Our technology is centuries ahead of yours in many fields. We offer you faster-than-light travel, advanced medical treatments, energy solutions, and access to the Galactic Trade Network. In return, we ask for volunteers. Human males who would be willing to provide genetic material to help Valorian females conceive children. The hall erupted in noise. Delegates shouted questions. Cameras flashed. The UN Secretary-General had to call for order 3 times before people settled down. A delegate from North America stood up. Ambassador Kyra, you're asking human men to father children with your species? How would this even work? Kyra nodded calmly. The process is medical and scientific. We have perfected genetic combination techniques over many years. A human male would provide samples, and our scientists would combine them with Valorian genetic material. The Valorian female would then carry the child normally. The children would be healthy hybrids of both species. Another delegate spoke up, her voice sharp. You're essentially asking us to breed with you. That's what you're calling this in your language, isn't it? You translated the role as breeding bull. Is that how you see human men? Kyra looked uncomfortable for the first time. That is a translation error. In our language, the term means genetic provider and honored father. It is a sacred role in our culture. We meant no disrespect. But the damage was done. Within hours, media outlets around the world were running headlines about aliens wanting human breeding bulls. Social media exploded with opinions. Some people thought it was humanity's duty to help. Others called it exploitation. Conspiracy theorists claimed it was an invasion plot. Jiho's face was everywhere. Someone had leaked that he was the first confirmed compatible human. His picture appeared on news sites with headlines like, "The man who could save an alien species," and "Earth's first breeding bull." He couldn't go anywhere without being recognized. People stopped him on the street asking for his autograph or shouting questions at him. Some called him a hero. Others called him a traitor to humanity. One woman threw a drink at him, calling him disgusting. After a week of chaos, Dr. Hana called Jiho to her laboratory. She had been working non-stop, studying the Valorian data with Earth's top scientists. "I've confirmed everything," Hana said, looking exhausted. "The compatibility is real. It's actually miraculous. Human genetic diversity is incredible because we evolved over millions of years in different environments. We have resistances and adaptations that most species don't have." She pulled up a chart on her screen. The plague that killed Valorian males was a genetic disease. It attacked certain DNA sequences. Humans don't have those sequences, but we have similar ones that are resistant. If we combine human and Valorian genetics, the resulting children would be immune to the plague. "So we really could save them," Jiho said quietly. "Yes. But there's more." Hana switched to another image. The hybrid children would be remarkable. They would have human adaptability and creativity combined with Valorian physical capabilities and sensory abilities. And there's a good chance that male children could be born, maybe even pure Valorian males eventually, if enough genetic diversity is introduced. Jiho sat down heavily. "This is real. This is actually happening." The next day, the Valorian High Council arrived on Earth. Their ship was enormous, bigger than anything humans had built. It hung in orbit like a silver moon, visible even in daylight. The council consisted of 12 Valorian leaders, all female, all ancient by human standards. They met with Earth's leaders in closed sessions. Jiho wasn't invited to those meetings, but he heard the rumors. The Valorians were offering incredible things: medical technology that could cure most human diseases, energy systems that would end Earth's power problems, weapons to defend against hostile aliens that humans didn't even know existed yet, and most importantly, membership in the galactic community. But they wanted something specific in return. They wanted Earth to establish a genetic cooperation program. They wanted human male volunteers to come to the Valorian homeworld. They wanted permission to screen Earth's male population for the most compatible matches. The world's governments were divided. Some saw it as humanity's greatest opportunity. Others saw it as selling human beings. Religious leaders debated whether it was moral. Scientists argued about the implications. Regular people had loud opinions on every social media platform. Jiho tried to stay out of it, but that became impossible when Ambassador Kyra visited him at his apartment. "Captain Jiho," she said, standing in his doorway, "may I speak with you?" He let her in, offering her tea that she politely accepted. They sat in his small living room, the Valorian ambassador looking far too large for his furniture. "The negotiations are not going well," Kara admitted. "Many humans are afraid. They don't trust us. They think we want to exploit your species." "Can you blame them?" Jiho asked. "This is all very sudden and very strange." "No, I cannot blame them," Kyra said sadly. "But time is running out. Every day more Valorian females die without having children. Every day my species gets closer to extinction." She looked at him with those large, shimmering eyes. "Captain Jiho, you are the first compatible human we found. You are also the first human who treated us with kindness. Would you consider volunteering? If one human agreed, if one human showed that this can work, others might follow." Jiho felt his heart pounding. "You're asking me to be the first." "Yes, I know it is asking a lot. I know your life would change forever, but you would be saving millions of lives. You would be a hero to two species." Jiho stood and walked to his window, looking out at the city. He thought about his quiet life as a space captain. He thought about the Valorian children who would never be born without help. He thought about what it meant to be human, to have the power to help and choose not to. "If I agree," he said slowly, "I have conditions. I want to understand everything about the process. I want human observers to come with me. I want to learn about your culture before anything happens. And I want to be treated as a person, not as a breeding animal." Kyra stood and placed her hand over her heart. "All of that will be granted. You have my word, and the word of the High Council." Jiho turned to face her. "Then I'll do it. I'll volunteer." Kyra's face showed such relief and gratitude that Jiho felt embarrassed. She bowed deeply to him. "Thank you, Captain Jiho. You have given my species hope. History will remember this moment." As she left, Jiho sat back down, his hands shaking. He had just agreed to something that would change his entire life. He would become the first human to help save an alien species through genetic cooperation. The media would go crazy. His family would be shocked. His friends would have a million questions. But somewhere in the galaxy, Valorian children might have a chance to be born because of his choice. He just hoped he was making the right decision. Part 3. The Volunteer. The transport ship was nothing like the vessels Jiho was used to. It was smooth and quiet, and it moved faster than anything humans had built. Inside, the walls glowed softly with blue light, and the furniture adjusted automatically to fit whoever sat in it. Jiho sat near a window, watching Earth shrink behind them. Dr. Hana sat beside him, reading through Valorian medical texts on her tablet. Lieutenant Yuna was exploring the ship with the excitement of a child in a toy store. "Are you nervous?" Hana asked, without looking up. Jiho laughed weakly. "Terrified. I'm about to become a genetic donor for an entire alien species. How should I feel?" "Proud," Hana said simply. "You're doing something incredible." Ambassador Kara approached them, moving gracefully despite the ship's high speed. "We will arrive at my homeworld in 3 days. I wanted to prepare you for what you will see." She sat across from them, her large form making the human-sized chairs look tiny. "My people are excited to meet you. You are the first real hope we have had in generations. But I must warn you, the welcome might be overwhelming." "How overwhelming?" Jiho asked. Kyra hesitated. "There will be crowds, many, many crowds. You are a symbol of survival to us, They will want to see you, to thank you, to touch you. It will be intense." Yuna returned from her exploration, her eyes wide. "This ship is amazing. They have rooms that create artificial gravity in any direction. And the food synthesizer made me a perfect bowl of noodles." Kyra smiled. "I am glad you are comfortable. Please use this time to ask me any questions. I want you to understand my culture before we arrive." Over the next 3 days, Jiho learned more about Valorian society than he thought possible. He learned that Valorians lived for about 200 years. He learned that their civilization was over 50,000 years old. He learned that before the plague, Valorian males and females had lived in complete equality, sharing all roles in their society. "We did not have your human concept of gender roles," Kyra explained one evening. "Males and females both led, both fought, both created. The plague did not just kill our males. It killed half of our culture, half of our perspectives, half of our souls." She showed them images of Valorian families from before the plague, males and females together, raising children, building things, exploring. Then she showed them current images, only females, growing old, their faces sad. "We have tried everything," Kyra said quietly. "Cloning, artificial reproduction, genetic engineering. Nothing works. Each generation is weaker. In my grandmother's time, we had 5 million live births per year. In my mother's time, 2 million. Last year, we had only 300,000. And each year, the number drops." Hana looked at the data with professional interest. "What about other species? You said you searched the galaxy." "We found species with some compatibility, but never enough. The genetic distance was too great. But humans..." Kyra pulled up a chart. "Humans are perfect. Your DNA has flexibility that we have never seen before. It is as if your species was designed to adapt and mix with others." "That's because we're survivors," Jiho said. "Humans evolved in harsh conditions. We had to adapt or die. Our ancestors faced ice ages, droughts, predators, diseases. Only the most adaptable survived." "And that adaptability," Kyra said, "is exactly what my species needs." When they finally arrived at the Valorian homeworld, Jiho pressed his face against the window. The planet was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents, 3 small moons hanging in the sky. Cities glittered on the night side like jewels. The ship landed in the capital city, and Kyra led them to the exit ramp. "Are you ready?" she asked. Jiho took a deep breath. "As ready as I'll ever be." The ramp lowered and sound hit him like a wave. Thousands of voices cheering, music playing, lights flashing. The landing platform was surrounded by crowds held back by barriers. Valorians of all ages waved and called out. Many were crying. "They are calling you Savior from the Stars," Kyra said, speaking loudly to be heard over the noise. "Come, the council is waiting." They walked through the crowd, and Jiho felt hands reaching out to touch him gently. Flowers were thrown at his feet. Children held signs with words he couldn't read, but understood from their smiling faces. "This is insane," Yuna whispered beside him. "This is hope," Hana corrected her. The council building was enormous, carved from white stone that seemed to glow. Inside it was cool and quiet, the sounds of the crowd fading behind thick walls. The council members waited in a large chamber, all 12 of them standing in a semicircle. The eldest stepped forward. "Captain Jiho of Earth, you honor us with your presence. I am Council Elder Thera. On behalf of all Valorians, I thank you for your courage." Jiho bowed awkwardly. "I'm just trying to help." "You are doing more than that," Thera said. "But we must discuss the practical matters. Our scientists need to run tests to confirm the compatibility, to prepare the genetic combination process. This will take time." "I understand," Jiho said. "I want to understand everything too. No surprises." Thera nodded approvingly. Wise. Ambassador Kyra will be your guide during your stay. She will show you our world, teach you our ways, and answer your questions. When you are ready, the process will begin. Over the following weeks, Jiho settled into life on the Valorian homeworld. He was given a suite in the capital with rooms large enough for his human companions. Kyra visited every day, taking him to different parts of the city, introducing him to Valorian culture. He visited hospitals where Valorian scientists worked desperately to keep their species alive. He saw cloning facilities where artificial reproduction failed more often than it succeeded. He met elderly Valorians who had lost their entire family lines. One day, Kyra took him to an education center. Young Valorians studied there, learning about their history and science. When Jiho entered, the room went silent. The young ones stared at him with wide eyes. "This is Captain Jiho," Kara told them. "He is from Earth, and he is here to help our species survive." A small Valorian, perhaps the equivalent of a human 10-year-old, raised her hand. "Are you going to make males come back?" Jiho knelt down to her level. "I'm going to try. I can't promise it will work, but I'm going to do everything I can." The young Valorian's eyes filled with tears. "My grandmother told me about males. She said they were kind and strong and funny. I want to meet one someday." Jiho felt his throat tighten. "Maybe you will. Maybe your generation will be the one that sees males return." That evening, Jiho sat with Hana and Yuna in their suite. Hana had been working with Valorian scientists, learning their technology. Yuna had been training with Valorian security forces, making friends despite the language barrier. "I'm ready," Jiho said suddenly. "I've learned enough. I've seen enough. Let's do this." Hana looked at him carefully. "Are you sure? This is a big step." "I'm sure," Jiho said. "These people are dying. That little girl today, she might never have children of her own if we don't help. I didn't come here to wait. I came here to make a difference." The next morning, Kyra arrived early. "The council has been informed of your decision. The medical facility is prepared. If you are truly ready, we can begin today." Jiho stood. "I'm ready." The medical facility was state-of-the-art, even by Valorian standards. Dr. Hana stayed with Jiho, monitoring everything with professional attention. The Valorian doctors were respectful and careful, explaining each step of the process. It was nothing like Jiho had feared. It was clinical and scientific, more like giving blood than anything else. The Valorian doctors collected samples, ran tests, and prepared the genetic material for combination. "The compatibility is even better than we hoped," one doctor told them. "The success rate should be very high." 3 Valorian females had volunteered to be the first. They were scientists who understood the risks and wanted to help prove the process worked. Jiho met them briefly. They thanked him with tears in their eyes, calling him brave and kind. When it was done, Jiho felt strange. He had just taken the first real step towards saving an entire species. The genetic material he provided would be combined with Valorian DNA. In a few months, they would know if it worked. Kyra found him sitting alone in a garden outside the facility. She sat beside him on a bench designed for beings much larger than humans. "How do you feel?" she asked. "I don't know," Jiho admitted. "Hopeful, scared, important, strange, all of those?" Kara smiled. "Those are all reasonable feelings. You have done something remarkable today, Jiho. Whatever happens next, you gave my people a chance. That is everything." Jiho looked up at the 3 moons hanging in the alien sky. "Now we wait and see if it works." "Now we hope," Kyra corrected. "And hope is something we have not had in a very long time." Part 4. Unexpected Complications. 3 months passed on the Valorian homeworld. Jiho had settled into a routine. He spent mornings with Kyra learning the Valorian language. Afternoons were for exploring the city or training with Yuna. Evenings, he and Hana would review the medical data coming from the genetic program. Then one morning, everything changed. Kyra burst into his suite before sunrise, her face glowing with joy. "It worked! All three of them are pregnant. The embryos are developing perfectly." Jiho sat up in bed, still half asleep. "All three? That's incredible!" Within hours, the news spread across the planet. The first successful human-Valorian genetic combinations in history. Crowds gathered outside Jiho's building, cheering and celebrating. The council declared a planetary holiday, but as the excitement settled, the scientists made discoveries that no one expected. Dr. Hana called Jiho to the research facility a week later. She looked worried. "We need to talk about the scans of the developing embryos." Lysara, the Valorian science officer who had become Hana's close friend, pulled up holographic images. "The embryos are healthy, but they are not fully Valorian. They are true hybrids, showing characteristics of both species." "Isn't that expected?" Jiho asked. "Yes and no," Hana explained. "We expected some mixing, but this is complete integration. The children will have Valorian size and strength, but human-like internal structures. They will have Valorian sensory abilities, but human emotional processing. They will be something entirely new." "Is that bad?" Jiho asked. Lysara and Hana exchanged glances. "Not bad," Lysara said carefully, "but unexpected. And more importantly, the genetic scans suggest that male offspring are not just possible. They are likely. 2 of the 3 embryos show male development patterns." Jiho felt his heart race. "Males? Really?" "Yes," Hana confirmed. "But they won't be pure Valorian males. They will be hybrid males, half human, half Valorian." The news caused division on the Valorian homeworld. Council meetings became heated debates. Jiho watched news broadcasts with Kyra translating the arguments. One faction, called the Purists, argued that accepting hybrid children meant the end of true Valorian identity. "We are destroying our species to save it," their leader declared on television. "These hybrid children will not be Valorian. They will be something else." Another faction, the Progressives, countered that survival was more important than purity. "A living hybrid is better than an extinct pure Valorian," their spokeswoman said. "Our species chose to survive, and this is the price." A third group, smaller but growing, suggested something radical. They believed humans and Valorians should fully merge, creating a new combined species that would have the strengths of both. Jiho found the debates exhausting. He hadn't expected his choice would cause political fights. Then the external threats arrived. A message came from the Theron Collective, a powerful alien alliance that had been watching the human-Valorian cooperation with suspicion. Their ambassador appeared on communication screens across the Valorian homeworld. The Theron Collective views the human-Valorian genetic program as a threat to galactic stability, the ambassador announced. His species looked like tall insects with multiple eyes. "By combining 2 species, you are creating unpredictable variables. We demand this program be stopped immediately." The Valorian Council refused. That same night, unknown ships attacked the research facility where the pregnant Valorians were being monitored. Jiho was in his suite when alarms blared throughout the city. Yuna grabbed her weapons immediately, her military training taking over. Kyra arrived moments later, her face grim. "We are under attack. The research facility is the target. We must defend it." They raced through the city in a Valorian transport. When they arrived, they found chaos. 3 unmarked ships hovered above the facility, firing weapons at the building's shields. Valorian security forces were fighting back, but the attackers were well armed. "Why are they attacking?" Jiho shouted over the noise of explosions. "They want to destroy the hybrid embryos," Kyra yelled back. "If the first generation is killed, it will discourage others from trying." Yuna was already moving, coordinating with the Valorian soldiers. Despite the language barrier, her hand signals and tactical knowledge were universal. She pointed to weak spots in the enemy formation, suggested flanking maneuvers, and organized defensive positions. Jiho felt useless. He wasn't a soldier. He couldn't fight. But then he noticed something. The attack ships were using a pattern, striking the same points on the facility's shields repeatedly. It was predictable. Human pirates used similar tactics. "Kyra!" he shouted. "They're going to focus all their fire on the east shield in about 30 seconds. If you reinforce it now and drop the west shield, you can lure them into a trap." Kyra stared at him for a moment, then started shouting orders in her own language. Valorian ships moved quickly, adjusting their positions. When the attack ships focused on the east shield as Jiho predicted, they flew directly into weapons fire from the west. 2 ships were destroyed immediately. The third retreated, disappearing into the night sky. The facility was saved. Inside, the 3 pregnant Valorians were shaken but unharmed. The hybrid embryos were safe. That night, as emergency crews cleaned up the damage, Jiho sat with Kyra on the facility's roof. "How did you know their pattern?" Kyra asked. Jiho shrugged. "Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We learn to predict tactics. It's one of our less admirable skills." "You saved lives today," Kyra said. "Not with genetics this time, but with human cleverness and experience." "The galaxy is really watching us, isn't it?" Jiho said quietly. "Yes," Kyra admitted. "The Human-Valorian alliance is new and powerful. Others are nervous. Some see opportunity, others see threat. This attack will not be the last." A few days later, Earth sent an official message. More human volunteers were being recruited. The program was expanding. Scientists, doctors, military advisors, and genetic donors were preparing to travel to the Valorian homeworld. Jiho met the first new arrivals at the spaceport. There was Taiyang, a biologist eager to study hybrid development. Seojun, a diplomat tasked with managing human-Valorian relations. And Da-Yun, a military strategist sent to help defend against future attacks. "You're famous back on Earth," Taiyang told Jiho. "Everyone is talking about you. Some people love you, some people hate you, but everyone knows your name." That evening, Jiho was invited to meet the 3 pregnant Valorians in a private setting. Their names were Nari, Sumin, and Alara. They wanted to thank him personally. Nari, a military commander, shook his hand with surprising gentleness. "I lost my mother, my sisters, and my cousins to the decline. My family line was dying. Now, I carry the first male child of my bloodline in 3 generations. Thank you does not seem like enough words." Sumin, a geneticist who had dedicated her life to finding a cure, placed her hand over her stomach. "I never thought I would be a mother. I had accepted that my life would be spent in laboratories, searching for answers I might never find. Now I feel life growing inside me. It is miraculous." Ilera, the youngest of the 3, simply hugged Jiho. "You gave me hope," she whispered. "Thank you." Later, Hana pulled Jiho aside with new data. "I've been analyzing the hybrid genetics more carefully. The exchange is not one way. The Valorian genetic material is strong. If these hybrids eventually have children with humans, their offspring will carry Valorian traits too." "What does that mean?" Jiho asked. "It means that humanity will change too," Hana said seriously. "Humans who participate in this program might have descendants with longer lifespans, enhanced senses, greater physical strength. We are not just saving the Valorians. We are changing ourselves." That night, Jiho couldn't sleep. He stood on his balcony looking out at the alien city with its strange architecture and 3 moons. He had come here to help save a dying species. He hadn't realized he would be creating something entirely new. He hadn't expected political divisions, military attacks, or the realization that both species would be changed forever. Kyra found him there in the darkness. She stood beside him in silence for a while. "Are you having doubts?" she finally asked. "Not doubts," Jiho said, "just realizations. This is bigger than I thought, more complicated, more dangerous." "Yes," Kara agreed, "but also more important. You are not just saving my species, Jiho. You are building a bridge between two worlds. Bridges are always complicated to build, but once they are built, they connect everything." "What if we make mistakes?" Jiho asked. "What if the hybrids face discrimination? What if the purists are right and we are destroying something precious?" "Then we learn and adapt," Kyra said. "That is what your species does best, is it not? Humans adapt. Humans survive. Humans find ways forward even when the path is unclear." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "And you do not walk this path alone. We walk it together." Jiho nodded slowly. She was right. There was no going back now. The hybrid children would be born in a few months. More humans were coming. The galaxy was watching. The adventure was becoming more complicated than anyone had imagined. But it was also becoming more important. The future of two species depended on what happened next. 6 months after the first successful pregnancies, the galaxy could no longer ignore what was happening on the Valorian homeworld. News traveled through the interstellar networks. Other species watched with curiosity, concern, and sometimes jealousy. Jiho stood in the observation room of the genetic research facility, watching through protective glass as doctors monitored the 3 pregnant Valorians. Nari, Sumin, and Elara were all in their final month. The hybrid children would be born soon. 4 more human volunteers arrived yesterday, Hana told him, reviewing her datapad. Earth is sending more scientists too. They want to establish a permanent research station here. Things are moving fast, Jiho said. Too fast for some people, Hana replied. She showed him recent news from the galactic networks. Several species had issued statements about the human Valorian program. Most were neutral, but some were openly hostile. The Theron Collective had become increasingly aggressive. Their ambassador gave speeches calling humans genetic contaminants and warning that the hybrid children would be abominations that threaten the natural order. They are planning something, Dayun said, entering the room. She was Jiho's military advisor now, and she had been studying Theron attack patterns. Their rhetoric is escalating. That is usually a sign that action is coming. Jiho looked at the pregnant Valorians through the glass. We need better security. We have it, Dayun assured him. Yuna and I have been training Valorian forces in human combat tactics. We have shield generators around the facility, detection systems that can spot approaching ships. We are as ready as we can be. That night, Jiho attended a dinner with the Valorian Council. It was a formal event, with representatives from several other alien species present. Humans were still new to galactic politics, and Jiho felt out of his depth. An ambassador from the Karathi species approached him. The Karathi looked like tall, slender beings made of crystal that refracted light in beautiful patterns. Captain Jiho, the ambassador said in perfect English, the Karathi sovereignty has been watching your genetic program with great interest. We too have experienced population decline, though not as severe as the Valorians. Would humans be willing to help other species as well? Jiho was surprised. I am not the person to make that decision. Earth's government would need to consider it. Of course, the ambassador said smoothly, but you are the symbol. Where you lead, others follow. Please consider that your actions here might open doors for many species. Another ambassador, this one from the Drazen Republic, joined the conversation. The Drazen looked reptilian, with scales and sharp teeth. The Drazen people admire human courage, she said, but we worry about the precedent this sets. If genetic mixing becomes common, will distinct species survive? Or will we all eventually blend into one? It was a question Jiho had been thinking about himself. "I do not know the answer," he admitted. "But I know that letting species die out is not the solution either." Before the Drazen could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the building. "Attack!" someone shouted in Valorian. "The facility is under attack!" Jiho ran with the others toward the emergency exits. Outside, the night sky was lit with weapons fire. Multiple ships descended on the genetic research facility, their weapons more powerful than the previous attack. "It is the Therans," Kyra said, appearing beside Jiho. "They brought a full battle group this time." Communications filled with panicked voices. The facility's shields were holding, but barely. Valorian defense ships were engaging the attackers, but they were outnumbered. Jiho's mind raced. The 3 pregnant Valorians were inside the facility. If it was destroyed, the first hybrid children would die before they were born. The program would suffer a devastating setback. "We need to evacuate them," Jiho said. "The Therans will target any transport leaving the facility," Da-Yun said, arriving with Yuna. Both carried weapons. "We need to create a diversion." "I have an idea," Yuna said, her eyes bright with dangerous excitement. "Human guerrilla tactics. We make them think we are evacuating in multiple directions. Most of the transports will be empty decoys. Only one will carry the real targets." Da-Yun nodded. "It could work, but we need to move fast." Kyra started shouting orders in Valorian. Transport ships were prepared rapidly. Medical staff carefully moved Nari, Sumin, and Elara to one transport. Other transports were loaded with equipment to make them look occupied. "Who will pilot the real transport?" Kyra asked. "I will," Jiho said. Everyone stared at him. "I have been practicing with Valorian controls. I can do it." "You are not a combat pilot," Kara protested. "No, but I am the one person the Therans want to kill most," Jiho said grimly. "If I am piloting, and they somehow identify the right transport, at least I will be there to protect it." There was no time to argue. Jiho climbed into the pilot seat of the transport carrying the 3 pregnant Valorians. Hana climbed in beside him to monitor the patients. In the back, medical staff kept the Valorians as stable as possible. "All transports launched together," Da-Yun commanded over communications. "Random evasive patterns. Make them guess." 10 transports launched from different exits simultaneously. The Theran ships immediately opened fire, trying to hit all of them. Valorian defense forces attacked the Therans from multiple angles, creating chaos. Jiho pushed the transport through the night sky, his hands sweating on the controls. Energy weapons streaked past, exploding in the air around them. He flew low over the city, weaving between buildings using human instinct and improvisation. "2 Theron fighters are following us," Hana warned, watching the sensors. Jiho saw them in his rear display. They were closing fast. He dove toward a residential area, flying dangerously close to apartment buildings. The Theron pilots followed, but they were more cautious, worried about collateral damage. "Hold on!" Jiho shouted, and pulled the transport into a tight turn that would have been impossible for a larger ship. The Therans overshot, and for a moment, Jiho had them in his sights. But he had no weapons. He had to keep running. A Valorian defense ship appeared from nowhere, destroying one Theron fighter with precise weapons fire. The second Theron broke off, retreating toward the main battle. "We are clear," Hana said with relief. Jiho flew the transport to a secondary medical facility on the other side of the continent. When they landed, he found his entire body shaking from adrenaline. Medical staff rushed to care for Nari, Sumin, and Elara. All 3 were frightened but unharmed. The hybrid embryos were still healthy. "That was incredible flying," Nari told Jiho as doctors checked her vital signs. "Where did you learn to pilot like that?" "Necessity," Jiho said, still catching his breath, "and a little bit of human craziness." Back at the original facility, The battle was ending. The Theran forces retreated after losing several ships. Valorian news networks covered the attack extensively. The galaxy watched. By morning, the galactic response was intense. Species that had been neutral now condemned the Theran attack. The Karathi sovereignty offered military assistance to the Valorians. The Drazen Republic proposed a galactic law protecting scientific research facilities from military action. But most importantly, 3 species that had been watching the human Valorian program quietly now came forward. They too faced population problems. They too wanted to explore genetic cooperation with humans. Earth's government was overwhelmed with requests. What had started as one captain's choice to help was becoming a massive interstellar program. Seojun, the human diplomat, called a conference with Jiho and the other human volunteers. Earth is establishing the Genesis program officially. It will coordinate human genetic cooperation with other species. They are asking for more volunteers. How many more? Taeyang asked. Hundreds, eventually, Seojun said. Maybe thousands. This is becoming bigger than anyone imagined. Jiho felt exhausted. He had been on the Valorian homeworld for 8 months. He missed Earth. He missed his old life. But he also felt responsible for what he had started. 2 weeks after the attack, everything changed again. Sumin went into labor. Jiho waited outside the delivery room with dozens of others. Kyra stood beside him, her hand gripping his shoulder. Hana was inside with the Valorian doctors, observing everything. Hours passed. Then they heard it. A baby's cry, strong and healthy. Hana emerged, her face covered in tears and joy. It is a girl, a healthy hybrid girl. She has characteristics of both species. She is beautiful. 2 days later, Nari gave birth to a boy, the first male born of the Valorian bloodline in 3 generations. He was larger than a human baby, with Valorian features but human proportions. Alara's child came 3 days after that, another boy, healthy and strong. The 3 hybrid children were placed together in a special nursery. Jiho stood at the viewing window, looking at them through the glass. They were tiny, vulnerable, and completely amazing. They are the future, Kyra said softly beside him. 3 children who would never have existed without you. They are also a target, Jiho said quietly. The Therons will not give up. Others might try to stop this too. Then we protect them, Kara said firmly. We show the galaxy that cooperation is stronger than fear. We prove that different species can build something beautiful together. Reporters from across the galaxy arrived to see the hybrid children. Images spread through the interstellar networks. Some species celebrated, others protested, but no one could deny what had been accomplished. In the nursery, the 3 hybrid babies slept peacefully, unaware that they were the most important children in the galaxy. They were proof that extinct species could be saved. They were hope made real, and they were just the beginning. More human volunteers were coming, more species were asking for help. The Genesis program was expanding rapidly. Jiho looked at the babies and wondered what kind of galaxy they would grow up in. Would it be a galaxy where species helped each other? Or would it be one where fear and division ruled? He did not have the answers. But he knew one thing for certain. These children deserved a chance to find out. And he would do everything in his power to give them that chance. The galactic stage was set. The future was unwritten, and for the first time in generations, the Valorians had hope. 1 year had passed since Jiho first arrived on the Valorian homeworld. The 3 hybrid children were growing rapidly, showing remarkable development. The girl named Sira was already walking and speaking simple words in both Valorian and English. The 2 boys, Kale and Draven, were slightly behind but equally healthy. Jiho watched them play in the nursery through protective glass. They moved with unusual grace, combining Valorian physical coordination with human curiosity. Sierra was particularly energetic, climbing on everything and laughing when she succeeded. They are developing faster than pure Valorian children, Dr. Lysera explained, standing beside him, but also more carefully than human children. They seem to have the best traits of both species. More human volunteers had arrived over the months. The Genesis program now had 20 humans working on the Valorian homeworld. Taiyang studied the hybrid children's development. Seojun managed relations between Earth and Valoria. Da-hyun trained security forces. Dozens of scientists from both species collaborated on research. 3 more Valorian females were currently pregnant with hybrid children. 5 others were in the process of genetic matching. The program was successful beyond anyone's hopes, but success brought new complications. Jiho sat in a meeting with the Valorian Council and human delegation. The topic was citizenship and identity. The hybrid children need legal status, Council Elder Thera said. Are they Valorian citizens? Earth citizens? Both? Neither? Earth's government proposes dual citizenship, Seojun explained. They would be citizens of both worlds, with rights and protections from both governments. What about identity? Another council member asked. Will they identify as Valorian, human, hybrid? What do we call them? The debate went on for hours. Jiho found it frustrating. These were children, not political problems. But he understood the concerns. The hybrids would grow up caught between 2 worlds. They needed clarity about who they were. After the meeting, Jiho walked through the city with Kyra. She had become his closest friend over the months. They spent almost every day together, and he had learned to read her moods and expressions. You are troubled, Kara observed. I am wondering if I am really helping or just making things more complicated, Jiho admitted. Those children will face challenges we cannot predict. They will always be different, always caught between species. Perhaps, Kara said. Or perhaps they will be the bridge that connects our species permanently. Being caught between can also mean connecting both. They stopped at a cafe where Valorian and human workers served food from both worlds. It was one of many places where the cultures were mixing. Jiho ordered Earth coffee. Kyra got Valorian tea. I have been thinking, Kyra said carefully, about what this all means. A year ago, I saw humans as a solution to a problem. Now I see something different. What do you see? Jiho asked. Partnership, Kara said. Not just genetic partnership, but cultural partnership. Humans have taught Valorians things we forgot. How to improvise, how to hope, how to laugh even in difficult situations. She looked at him with those large, shimmering eyes. And I have learned something personal, too. Valorians lost more than males when the plague came. We lost the concept of romantic partnership. We forgot what it means to choose someone, not for genetics or duty, but for connection. Jiho felt his heart beat faster. Kyra, what are you saying? I am saying that I value you beyond your genetic contribution, she said quietly. I value your friendship, your humor, your courage. I value you as a person, Jiho, and I think in human terms, I have feelings for you. Jiho was stunned. He had grown close to Kara, too, but he never expected this. She was an alien, a completely different species. But looking at her now, he realized he had feelings, too. Feelings that went beyond friendship. I do not know if this is appropriate, Kara continued. Valorian and human romantic relationship is not part of the program. I do not know if it is even possible. We have been making impossible things possible since the day we met, Jiho said softly. He reached out and took her hand. It was larger than his, with long fingers, but it felt warm and real. I have feelings for you too, Kyra. They sat in silence, holding hands, both realizing they were crossing another boundary that no one had expected. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the effects of the Genesis program were spreading. The Karathi had sent representatives to Earth, requesting human volunteers for their own genetic program. The Drazen were considering it. Even species that had opposed the idea were quietly sending observers. But not everyone was happy. The purist movement on the Valorian homeworld had grown stronger. They held protests outside the research facility, carrying signs demanding the program be stopped. One evening, their leader requested a meeting with Jiho. Her name was Valara, and she was an elderly Valorian who remembered the time before the plague. "I do not hate you, Captain Jiho," Valara said as they sat in a neutral meeting room. "I understand you are trying to help, but you are changing us. The children being born are not Valorian. They are something new." "Is that bad?" Jiho asked. "Your species was dying. Now it has a future." "But at what cost?" Valara replied. "Our culture, our identity, our physical form, everything that makes us Valorian is being diluted. In a few generations, there may be no pure Valorians left. We will have become something else." "You are right," Jiho said, surprising her. "Change is happening. But the alternative was extinction. Is it better to remain pure and die, or to change and survive?" Valara was quiet for a long time. "I do not know the answer," she finally admitted. "But I am frightened. I am frightened that my grandchildren will not remember what it means to be Valorian." "Then teach them," Jiho said. "The hybrid children need to know both their heritages. They need to learn Valorian history, culture, and values. They need to understand where they came from." Valara studied him. "You are wiser than I expected, human. Perhaps there is hope for understanding between us after all." Dr. Hana made another breakthrough in her research. She called Jiho to her laboratory late one night. "I have been studying the genetic patterns in the hybrid children," she explained, showing him complex data on her screens. "The Valorian DNA is incredibly adaptable. It integrates with human DNA almost perfectly, and I discovered something amazing." She pulled up a simulation. "If these hybrid children eventually have children with humans, their offspring will carry beneficial traits from both species. Enhanced healing, longer lifespans, improved cognitive abilities. The genetic exchange is not destroying either species. It is creating something better." "Better is a dangerous word," Jiho said. "Different then," Hana corrected. "The point is, both species benefit. Humans who participate in this program will have descendants with enhanced capabilities. Valorians will have descendants who survive. It is truly symbiotic." News from Earth brought more changes. The Genesis program was expanding rapidly. Earth was building a massive training center for volunteers. Thousands of people were applying. Some wanted to help alien species. Others were attracted by the adventure. A few saw it as a way to improve human genetics. Jiho received a message from Earth's government. They wanted him to return home, to help recruit and train new volunteers. They wanted him to be the face of the program. He sat in his suite, holding the message, feeling torn. Part of him wanted to go home. He missed Earth. He missed his old life. But another part of him felt like his work here was not finished. Kara found him staring out the window at the three moons. "You are thinking about leaving." "Earth wants me back," Jiho admitted. "They want me to help expand the program." "But you do not want to go," Kara said. It was not a question. "I do not know what I want," Jiho said honestly. "I came here to help save your species. That mission is succeeding. But I feel like there is more to do here." Kyra sat beside him. "Then stay. Not because of duty, not because of the program. Stay because you choose to." "What about us?" Jiho asked. "What are we, Kyra?" "We are whatever we choose to be," Kyra said. "We can define it ourselves. No one has done what we are doing. We can make our own rules." Jiho took her hand again. "I want to stay, but I also want to help Earth. Maybe there is a middle way. Over the next few weeks, they worked out a compromise. Jiho would return to Earth for 3 months to help with the Genesis program. Then he would return to the Valorian homeworld. He would split his time between both worlds, serving as a bridge between them. Before he left, he visited the nursery one last time. Sierra, Kyle, and Draven were playing together. They looked up when he entered, and Sierra ran to him on unsteady legs. "Jiho," she said in her small voice. It was one of her first words. He picked her up carefully. She was heavier than a human child her age, but she giggled and grabbed his hair with her small hands. "You are going to grow up in an amazing galaxy," Jiho told her. "You are going to show everyone that different species can work together. You are going to be incredible." Sierra just giggled and pulled his hair harder. As Jiho's ship lifted off from the Valorian homeworld, he looked back at the planet that had become his second home. Kyra stood at the spaceport watching him leave. They had not said goodbye because they both knew this was not an ending. It was just another beginning. The Genesis program was spreading. Hybrid children were being born. Cultures were mixing. The galaxy was changing. And Jiho was right in the middle of it all, no longer just a volunteer or a genetic donor. He had become something more, a diplomat, a teacher, a friend, perhaps even a lover. Most importantly, he had become a symbol of what was possible when fear was replaced with hope, when division was replaced with cooperation, when species chose to build bridges instead of walls. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, it was full of possibility. 2 years after first contact, everything had changed. Jiho stood on the observation deck of a new space station being built between Earth and the Valorian homeworld. The station was massive, designed to be a permanent hub where humans and Valorians could live and work together. "Construction is ahead of schedule," Seojun reported, joining him at the window. "We should have residential sections ready in 6 months." Jiho watched construction drones moving massive sections into place. Ships from both worlds came and went constantly. This station would be the first truly shared space between their species. "How many people have applied to live here?" Jiho asked. "Over 10,000 from Earth alone," Seojun said, "and about 5,000 Valorians. We will have to be selective." The Genesis program had exceeded all expectations. 30 hybrid children had been born in the past 2 years. More were on the way. But more importantly, something unprecedented had happened. A pure Valorian male had been born 3 months ago. His name was Minje in human tradition, Theron in Valorian. He was the first pure Valorian male in 3 generations, born to a Valorian female who had received human genetic therapy but had not created a hybrid child. The scientists were still trying to understand exactly how it happened. Dr. Hana's theory was that the introduction of human genetic diversity had somehow triggered dormant genes in the Valorian population. The human DNA had not directly created Minji, but it had enabled his mother's body to produce a male child naturally. It was proof that the program could restore Valorian males without every child being a hybrid. Jiho had visited Minji's mother, a Valorian named Yana, shortly after the birth. She had cried with joy, holding her son and thanking Jiho repeatedly. "I never thought I would hold a Valorian male baby," she said through her tears. "My grandmother told me stories, but I thought I would die without seeing one. And now he is here, my son, a real Valorian male." The birth of Minje changed everything. The purist movement lost much of its support. If pure Valorian males could be born again, then Valorian identity was not being erased. It was being restored. The Valorian High Council made an announcement that echoed across the galaxy. They proposed a permanent alliance with Earth. Not just a treaty, but a true union. Shared technology, combined military forces, integrated governments. They proposed something that had never existed before in the galaxy, a 2-species civilization. Earth's governments debated for months. Some nations supported the idea enthusiastically. Others were cautious. But eventually, after numerous votes and negotiations, Earth agreed to the alliance. The treaty was signed at a ceremony attended by representatives from dozens of alien species. Jiho stood on the stage beside Kara as the documents were formalized. They had been chosen as symbols of the alliance, the first human and Valorian to form a true partnership. Over the 2 years, their relationship had deepened. They were partners in every sense. They worked together, planned together, and yes, loved each other. It was unusual and unprecedented, but they had learned to navigate the differences between their species. "How do you feel?" Kyra whispered to him as leaders gave speeches. "Terrified," Jiho admitted. "This is huge. We are creating something that has never existed before." "That is what you do best," Kara said with a small smile. "Making impossible things real." After the ceremony, they attended a reception where aliens from across the galaxy mingled. The Karathi had successfully started their own genetic program with human volunteers. The Drazen were still considering it. 3 other species had made formal requests. The Theron Collective had remained hostile, but their opposition had weakened. Most of the galaxy now saw the Genesis program as a success story, not a threat. A Karathi diplomat approached Jiho and Kyra. "Captain Jiho, I wanted to thank you personally. Because of your courage, the Karathi have hope for our own population recovery. Our first hybrid child will be born next month." "I hope everything goes well," Jiho said sincerely. "It will," the diplomat replied. "We learned from your example. We are taking it slowly and carefully, respecting both species involved." Later that evening, Jiho and Kyra returned to their quarters on the new station. They had decided to make it their permanent home, living between both worlds. "I received an interesting proposal today," Kyra said as they settled in. "The council wants us to lead the colony project." "What colony project?" Jiho asked. Kyra pulled up a holographic display. It showed a planet, neither Valorian nor Earth, but somewhere in between. "This world was surveyed years ago. It is suitable for both our species with minor terraforming. The council proposes building the first truly integrated colony, a place where humans and Valorians live together from the beginning, raising families, building a society that belongs to both species equally." Jiho studied the planet. It was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents. "They want us to lead it?" "You are the symbol of human-Valorian cooperation," Kyra said, "and I am the ambassador who started it all. Together we represent what this colony would be, a union of both species." "It is a huge responsibility," Jiho said slowly. "Yes," Kyra agreed. "But think about it. A world where hybrid children grow up alongside human and Valorian children, where both cultures mix and learn from each other, where no one is minority or majority, but everyone is simply a citizen." Jiho thought about Syrah, Kale, and Draven. They were 4 years old now by Earth reckoning, growing rapidly and showing remarkable abilities. They were learning both languages, both cultures. But they sometimes seemed confused about where they belonged. "A world where they can just be themselves," Jiho said quietly, "where being hybrid is normal, not unusual." "Exactly," Kyra said. Over the next few months, plans for the colony took shape. It would be called New Horizon in English, Velterra in Valorian. 10,000 initial colonists would go, split evenly between both species. More would follow if the experiment succeeded. Jiho and Kyra would govern together, making decisions jointly. Human and Valorian architectural styles would blend. Schools would teach both languages from the start. Laws would respect both cultures. The day finally came when the colony ships prepared to launch. Jiho stood at the spaceport with hundreds of volunteers from both species. Families, scientists, farmers, teachers, engineers. People who wanted to build something new. Dr. Hana was coming, eager to continue her research in a new environment. Yuna was coming, excited by the adventure. Tai Yang, Da Hyun, and dozens of other humans who had spent years on the Valorian homeworld were ready for this next step. And the hybrid children were coming too. Sierra, Kyle, Draven, and 27 others. They would grow up on New Horizon, the first generation to be raised in a truly integrated society. Yana was bringing her son Minjae, the first pure Valorian male in generations. She wanted him to grow up in a world where the cooperation between species was normal, not revolutionary. As the ships loaded, Jiho walked through the crowds, seeing faces from both species. He saw hope, excitement, and a little fear. They were leaving everything familiar to build something unprecedented. Kyra found him in the crowd and took his hand. "Are you ready?" "I do not think anyone can be ready for something like this," Jiho admitted, "but I am willing to try." The launch was spectacular. 6 massive ships rose into the sky simultaneously, carrying the future of 2 species. Inside the lead ship, Jiho stood on the bridge beside Kyra as they left the station behind. "Course set for New Horizon," the pilot reported. "Journey time, 3 weeks." During those 3 weeks, Jiho spent time getting to know the colonists. He heard their stories, their hopes, their concerns. He met young Valorians who had never known males until Minjae was born. He met humans who had volunteered because they believed in the dream of unity. One evening, he sat with Sierra in the ship's recreation area. She was playing a game that combined human and Valorian rules, laughing as she won against older children. "Jiho," she said when she saw him. She still called him by his first name. "Will the new planet have 3 moons like the Valorian homeworld?" "No," Jiho said. "It has 2 moons. One is silver like Valoria's, one is white like Earth's." "That is perfect," Sierra said seriously. "One for each of my heritages." She said it so simply, but it struck Jiho deeply. This child and all the hybrid children carried both heritages equally. They were not confused or conflicted. They were simply themselves, embracing both sides. When they finally arrived at New Horizon, everyone gathered at the viewing ports to see their new home. The planet was beautiful, hanging in space like a blue and green jewel. "It is perfect," Kyra whispered. The landing site was near the coast of the largest continent. As the ships touched down, Jiho felt his heart pounding. This was it, the beginning of something completely new. He stepped off the ship first, his boots touching alien soil. Kyra stepped down beside him, her hand in his. Behind them came humans and Valorians together, stepping onto a world that belonged to both of them equally. Young Minji took his first steps on New Horizon, held by his mother. The first pure Valorian male in generations, taking his first steps on a world built by cooperation, not division. The hybrid children ran ahead, laughing and exploring, not worried about which species they belonged to. Here, on this new world, they were simply children. Construction began immediately. Buildings rose that combined human and Valorian styles. Fields were planted with crops from both worlds. Schools were established where both languages were taught equally. Months passed. The colony grew. More ships arrived with new colonists. The population reached 20,000, then 30,000. Children were born on New Horizon, the first generation to never know a world divided by species. One evening, a year after landing, Jiho and Kyra stood on a cliff overlooking the ocean. The colony spread out behind them, lights twinkling in the twilight. 2 moons rose in the sky, one silver, one white. "We did it," Kyra said softly. "We actually did it." "It is just beginning," Jiho replied. "This colony is the first, but there will be others. on other worlds. The galaxy is changing. Because you chose to help a desperate alien ambassador, Kara said. Because you took a chance on something impossible. Jiho shook his head. No, because we took a chance on each other. Because both our species chose cooperation over fear. He turned to face her. Kyra, I have been thinking. In human culture, when two people want to commit to each other permanently, they have a ceremony. It is called marriage. Kyra's eyes widened. Are you asking me to marry you? Can humans and Valorians even marry? I do not know, Jiho admitted. No one has ever tried. But we have been making impossible things possible since the day we met. Why stop now? Kyra laughed, a sound that Jiho had learned to love. Then yes, let us create another impossible thing. Let us be the first human-Valorian marriage. They held each other as the two moons rose higher, casting silver and white light across the ocean. Behind them, the colony thrived. Hybrid children played with human and Valorian children. Families from two species lived side by side. A new civilization was being born. The galaxy watched. Some species were inspired and began planning their own cooperative programs. Others remained skeptical, but none could deny what had been achieved. From one captain's choice to help a dying species, an entire new future had emerged. The Valorians had been saved from extinction. Humanity had joined the galactic community. Hybrid children thrived, carrying the best of both species. And on New Horizon, under two moons, two species that were once strangers had become one people. Not by erasing their differences, but by celebrating them. Not by choosing one identity over another, but by creating space for both. It was not the end of challenges. There would be more struggles, more conflicts, more problems to solve. But there would also be more joy, more discovery, more impossible things made real, because that was what they did. Humans and Valorians together, building bridges across the stars. And in the center of it all stood Jiho and Kyra, no longer just a space captain and an ambassador. They were partners, lovers, leaders of a new world. They were the proof that different species could not just coexist, but could thrive together. As the stars came out above New Horizon, they turned back toward the colony. There was work to do, a civilization to build, children to raise, a future to create. But for this moment, they simply stood together, watching their impossible dream become reality. The adventure was far from over. It was only just beginning.